Shakespeare Sonnet 1. From fairest creatures we desire increase. Full text. From fairest creatures we desire increase, that thereby beauty's rose might never die, but as the riper should by time decease, his tender heir might bear his memory. But thou, contracted to thine own bright eyes, feeds thy light's flame with self-substantial fuel, making a famine where abundance lies, thyself thy foe, to thy sweet self too cruel. Thou that art now the world's fresh ornament, and only herald to the gaudy spring, within thine own bud buriest thy content. And, tender churl, mak'st waste in niggarding, pity the world, or else this glutton be, to eat the world's due, by the grave and thee.
Line by line explanation, lines 1 to 2. From fairest creatures we desire increase, that thereby beauty's rose might never die. We desire that beautiful creatures, people, reproduce so their beauty can be preserved. The rose symbolizes beauty, and the poet wishes it to live on through future generations.
Lines 3 to 4. But as the riper should by time decease, his tender heir might bear his memory. When the older generation grows old and dies, their descendants, heirs, carry their memory and beauty forward. Lines 5 to 6. But thou, contracted to thine own bright eyes, feedst thy light's flame with self-substantial fuel. The poet criticizes the subject, likely a young man, for being self-absorbed. The subject is described as admiring and sustaining their beauty selfishly, rather than sharing it by producing heirs.
Lines 7 to 8. Making a famine where abundance lies, thyself thy foe, to thy sweet self too cruel. By refusing to reproduce, the subject hoards their beauty, creating scarcity, famine, where there could be plenty. The poet calls this act self-destructive and cruel to one's own beauty. Lines 9 to 10. Thou that art now the world's fresh ornament, and only herald to the gaudy spring, the subject is currently seen as the pinnacle of beauty and vitality, a herald, announcing the joys of spring, youth and growth. Their beauty is celebrated and admired by all.
Lines 11 to 12. Within thine own bud buriest thy content. And, tender churl, mak'st waste in niggarding. The subject's beauty is compared to a flower bud that withholds its potential by not blooming. The poet calls them a tender churl, gentle miser, for selfishly wasting their gifts. Lines 13 to 14. Pity the world, or else this glutton be, to eat the world's due, by the grave and thee. The poet pleads with the subject to consider the world and share their beauty. If they don't, they are likened to a glutton, consuming what belongs to others, the legacy of beauty, and taking it to the grave with them.